Thank you for your question. Yes. For the Francophone community, we talk about the vitality of Francophone communities outside of Quebec. Earlier, I talked about linguistic security and that how the targets were based on that. It's to solve a declining demography. This builds capacity to allow these people who come to our communities and ensure that they are well supported and they can settle and then integrate and stay. When these people do not stay in the community, then it's like effort that we have invested and then has been lost. So yes, we need more resources. It's important that the government sees the big picture of overall Francophone immigration, including Francophone international students, refugees, and economic immigrants who are Francophones. I also spoke about asylum seekers earlier, as well as temporary foreign workers outside of Quebec. There needs to be proper funding so that support and integration of these immigrants are done smoothly. Targets will not allow the Francophone community to reach the 12%, but it is still a significant progress for our communities.
Next question also for you. In your view, what are the most significant barriers that the Francophone newcomers face when they arrive here in Canada? Whether it is the credential recognition, it's the language instruction, or the pathway navigation, and how do you think federal policies should be aligned to address the barriers the Francophone community faces?
When it comes to the obstacles that you mentioned, I think that there needs to be a concerted effort to work with communities, as Francophone immigration programs are part of a strategy. So looking at these strategies, there has been a lot of studies conducted. There are advisory committees that worked on this issue to see where the government can invest. Language training is very important. You have 1 minute left. You talked about recognition of foreign credentials. So working with provinces and professional orders to ensure that people can start working as soon as possible. Also consult studies that have already been conducted to find recommendations on where to invest to help Francophone immigrants in those communities.
Okay, après, on a...
Thank you. Now, Mr. Brunel Duceppe, you have 2.5 minutes. Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Vanderknapp, let's say the following thing happens. Tomorrow morning, you wake up as the Minister of Immigration. You have full powers of Federal Immigration Minister. What will you change? To ensure that Éducation Internationale will do better tomorrow. You have 24 hours. We want to see the vocational training sector be better, not just ourselves do better. But first, consult. Well, maybe not enough, 24 hours is not enough, but it's to reestablish this balance, to look at the labor market as well as the situation in schools. I cannot speak on behalf of other provinces, but I need to say what are Quebec's needs when it comes to innovation and as well as workforce. needs. We see that there is a lack of balance between vocational schools and universities. So we need to take a detailed look at where the needs are. And we also need to get rid of the 900-hour criteria. For us, that's a very arbitrary criteria because orderly training is below 900 hours, and yet a lot of people look for orderlies. The same goes for other vocational training. So reviewing those criteria to ensure that they are less arbitrary and more based on labor market needs. So also wondering why prioritizing graduate students, for example. I also hope that IRCC officers understands vocational training. We are different compared to the Canadian system, so there are a lot of administrative errors. So some students meet all eligibility criteria and yet see their study permit refused because IRCC agents who process their files do not understand the system. So when you talk about open permits, do you mean open permits for their partners? Because currently, people in graduate studies are eligible for that. Am I out of time? Yes. Thank you for all that information. Thank you. Next, Mr. Ma, you have 5 minutes.
My questions will continue with Ms. van der Net. Given your focus on protecting programs that lead in-demand and high-skilled professions, I want to build on that focus. Should our international student admissions be further tied to housing considerations?
Probablement, en effet.
Probably. We often hear that international students put pressure on housing availability. We know that there are housing shortages across many regions, yet we also need workers to build those houses. And construction workers are people who have received vocational training. There are barriers to bringing them in. For example, not all training provide 900 hours of training, and they do not all lead to PGWPs. They can help solve the problem. And once again, our numbers are small. 10,000 foreign students in Quebec was a record year for us. Or else it's usually between 6,000 to 7,000 people. Most of them were in 138 institutions outside of Quebec. And Mr. Garrett said that they can support the 70 or so students who are there and find housing for them. So we are small compared to other larger institutions that take in thousands of students. But we are in another space. So yes, you need to take into consideration settlement capacity. But you cannot just look at the forest, you need to look at the trees.
Within Quebec where you think international students would struggle to find affordable housing at current rent prices? I hear what you said about the demand that they would be addressing, but let's focus on their own housing problem at this point. So again, my question is do the international students would struggle in any particular part of Quebec where there are high costs of living?
Je vais laisser ma collègue Odile compléter.
I will ask my colleague Odile answer that because she is in closer contact with a lot of institutions. But if I understand correctly, when there is no availability for students, then vocational training institutions do not accept students because they do not want to send students home because the students cannot find housing.
Are you constantly monitoring the housing situation for students,